Welcome to the Sounds Of Series podcast, episode 1. My name is Courtney Fowler, and I'm a digital communications strategist, content creator, and lover of all things music. In curating the playlist and podcast for September, I really wanted to feel nostalgic and connect to songs that really set the foundation of my love for music. And in doing so, I realized that the biggest influence on my earliest music memories was through the lens of my mother's playlist, which included lots of songs like this one.
Check it out.
I like this.
Now, to all the ladies in the place with style and grace, allow me to lace these lyrical douches in your bushes who rock grooves and make moves with all the mommies. The back of the club, sipping my wet is where you find me. The back of the club, macking holes, my crew's behind me. Mad question asking, blunt passing, music lasting. But I just can't quit because one of these honeys Biggie got to creep with, sleep with, keep the ep a secret. Why not? Why blow up my spot? Cause we both got hot. Now check it. I got more Mac than Craig and in the bed. Believe me, sweetie, I got enough to feed the needy. No need to be greedy. I got mad friends with Benzes. See notes by the layers. True fucking players. Jump in the Rover and come over. Tell your friends jump in the GS3. I got the chronic by the tree. I love it when you call me Big Poppa. Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player. I love it when you call me Big Poppa. To the honeys getting money, playing niggas like dummies. I love it when you call me Big Poppa. You got a gun up in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. Why? Cause I see some ladies tonight that should be having my baby. Baby.
That's right. It may come as a little bit of a surprise, but the earliest memories for me were B.I.G, Tupac, Mary J. Blige, and artists like that. And they really, again, set the foundation for the type of music I love to this very day. So naturally, as my first podcast guest, I have my mother, Laverne Mays. Welcome to the podcast, Mom.
Hi.
Excited to have you here for the conversation because, again, so much of the influence that I have from music is related to the type of music that you listen to. So when I decided to interview you for this episode, there were 3 main artists who I associated you with when connecting to my earliest memories. I immediately thought of Wu-Tang, Mary J. Blige, and Biggie. But ultimately, I decided to go with Biggie because I just remember he was always a staple in your car and in the household. So what was it about his music that really resonated with you back then?
My lifestyle. Listening to the lyrics to actually this particular song, as soon as the song starts, I can envision myself driving down the highway in the car with the love of my life then and just rapping, just having a deep conversation just about life as we knew it at 20, in our early 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny that you said that because that's, again, something that really connects me to it. And another reason that I love this song is because it always gives me that very clear vision of the 90s club scene that you described. And I've definitely heard you talking about it a lot in a lot of ways. And the lyrics are actually really romantic and flattering as a woman being pursued in the club when you think about it.
Hood love.
Hood love. Exactly. So, and for me nowadays, the pursuit aspect is missing from a lot of hip hop music. So with that in mind and thinking about you in your 20s in the 90s specifically, what do you think about the presence of romance and how it's changed as a part of hip hop?
Oh, it's changed significantly. Mm-hmm. Today, they just talk about ripping your clothes off, throwing you down, and just doing you.
Right.
Particularly in Big Poppa, Biggie raps about pursuing this girl in the club who's actually in there with another guy. But she catches his attention from his charm and his charisma. And the part of the song when he says, You gonna be here for a while. I'm gonna call my crew. You go call your crew. We could rendezvous at
That's
the
my
bar round
favorite.
two. The funny thing is, I actually don't call DHS on me. I actually lived that scene
Yeah.
because just before those lyrics, he talks about the guy buying the girl a glass of wine in the club, but he comes creep up from behind and gives her his phone number, and that conversation from her giving that the phone number exchange leads to them rendezvousing at the bar with her crew and his crew. Like, these is actual events I actually lived,
Yeah.
and it just have lifetime memories. And today you just don't hear that in music.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is related to just the speed of music. Something that I was thinking about specifically with hip hop is like this TikTok culture of the songs being so much shorter. The average song nowadays is like 3 minutes maximum, and there's no build, there's no even pursuit in the song transition. So just the fact that there was able to be like a story related to that pursuit is something that always sticks with me about this song, and I love it because of that.
Please forgive me for laughing because, 3 minutes maximum. We didn't have 3 minutes back then. We had much
We had
longer.
8-minute songs. I mean, and I say we very loosely. I was like 6, so.
Yeah, no, actually, and those nights would last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And being in my 50s now, I could still reflect when, as soon as that song comes on, I don't care where I am, I envision myself back at that moment and at that time. And it just makes me wonder, being in my 20s now, today, and having that same feeling 30 years from now, listening to some rap song with some guy with what's those lyrics?
Listen to Lil Baby.
Yeah, listening to Lil Baby and auto tune.
Not to call out Lil Baby because we love Lil Baby
I
on
love
this
Lil
podcast.
Baby. I just watched his story,
His documentary.
and very interesting. But I can't imagine having that same central feeling to a rap song in auto tunes.
Yeah.
Like a Biggie song.
Right.
Because, like I said, I don't care where I am. I could be in the middle of my board meeting, and if that song comes on, I act like the little boy in Hardball.
Yes, yes. Hardball is also an iconic use of this song, and definitely one of my favorite ways because it's, again, a kid connecting to like this narrative that he doesn't have any insight on. And that for me is reminiscent because I was 6, 7 when this song came out, but it stuck with me.
But it's indicative to touching the soul.
Right. Exactly.
Of a black heart.
Right.
And that's just us by nature.
Yeah.
And Biggie's music, that genre of music back then, of hip hop, that's what it did. Mm-hmm. Not putting down today's music is not meant for me.
Right.
It's meant for the people that like 3 minutes.
No, I feel that. And I mean, as definitely a tweener, I mean, I'm approaching geriatric millennial status. So I'm in the middle of like understanding that foundation, but also still connecting to Moneybagg Yo, Lil Baby, the City Girls. And being in the middle of that, it's tough because I like both. Yeah. But also I can definitely see how someone of an older generation can be like, what is this? What are they talking about? So it's tough to find that balance.
Oh, absolutely. But you also know I love Cardi B, and Carisha is my spirit animal.
Yeah, exactly.
We're both Aquarius.
This is a City Girls family for sure, period. So I'm going to pivot a little bit because I want to talk about, to the point of connecting to the history of music and the legacy of it and connecting to love. So Big Poppa was produced by Puffy and Chucky Thompson, who is, rest in peace, but was amazing. He also produced for Usher, Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans. And one thing that always sticks out to me about this song too is the way that they approach the sample of the Isley Brothers' Between the Sheets, which has been sampled a dozen other times in other songs. And the thing that I love about it is, even though the sample is obvious, the cadence of it on the song is really, really unique. So, how do you feel about sample culture now versus how it was used on Big Papa? And I want to frame that question a little more because something that comes to mind for me is us talking about Lotto's use of Mariah Carey's Fantasy um, sample and just the way it didn't feel as creative as I would have hoped. I love Lotto, but it just wasn't my favorite. So, what are your thoughts about sample culture now versus the 90s and versus previous generations?
I don't have a problem with sampling music. I just have a problem with sampling music and not making it your own. The difference between Biggie sampling the Isley Brothers was it takes you a minute to realize that he is sampling the Isley Brothers.
Right.
Because, like I said, you feel his lyrics to your down in your soul. Whereas, and I love Lotto, and I love like what she's doing, and she's doing amazing things. But
that soft pause on the butt.
yeah, you know, a Mariah Carey song, no.
Yeah.
You know, not that anything is wrong with Mariah Carey's music, but just some songs you should just leave, let them stand alone. Although the Isley Brothers, you know, one can argue it should stand alone, but even when you hear the Isley Brothers song, soon as it dropped, you like, ooh,
Yes. You get the vibe
yes, down
immediately.
your spine.
Yeah.
And the same thing when you listen to Big Poppa in the middle of a club. Hell, I sit in my office and throw on some headphones just so I could get that. Ooh,
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that because again, I think that like for me in listening to it, it's the same again nostalgic feeling. Like I immediately connected. Yeah, I was 6, but at the same time, I can connect it to my earliest listening of it and really frame it in a way that gives it history. And that's one thing I struggle with music now in a lot of ways. I also don't have a problem with sample culture because I think that when done correctly, samples can be great and they can really
absolutely.
totally reframe a song and give you a different perspective of it. But something that I struggle with is like the use of samples nowadays don't really have the same staying power that they did with a song like Big Papa. And I just think that music is so powerful that it's unfortunate that they don't have that same staying power. Like Mariah Carey is a legend to me.
Absolutely.
And I would hope that any sample of hers would be on a song that's just like so impactful. So I think that that's the struggle that I come across nowadays.
But think about it this way. Look how many songs Luther Vandross sampled.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so hard to even think about the original because he made each of those songs his own. And, you know, the same thing with, you know, my other favorite, Method Man and Mary J.
Oh, yeah, You're All I Need.
Oh, yeah, my God, another hood classic.
Yeah, iconic.
As soon as I hear that, I don't want to say. But I mean, shit gets real.
Yeah, no.
And if I'm driving down the street, oh my God, it's just me in this whip. And
it's just you and meth in your mind.
The love of my life from my 20s. Yeah. Method being, woo, the only meth I will ever be on.
Oh my goodness. No, and I feel that. And I think that that's so poignant because, again, we live in a culture that is like very quick. Everything's very fast. Nothing is effectively thought through. And I just wonder if artists nowadays even realize the impact of some of the samples that they're doing. And I hate to keep calling Lotto out because I do love her, but the impact of like a Mariah Carey sample, like I think about the performance she recently did with Mariah of the song on an award show. That was amazing. That was an opportunity for a cultural moment that we may never get again on a song that didn't feel as substantial to me. Nothing's wrong with the song, but it just doesn't feel like.
I was so happy to see her. I was so happy Mariah agreed to even do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bridging generations to the point that we're talking about now.
Absolutely. And because I feel like she's so downplayed in this industry, and she is one of the greats.
Absolutely.
Lotto. And I think they should give her a lot more play, airtime than what they do. But it was just something that just didn't quite get it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like really praying, like I'm really praying for that one big from her.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I love her.
Yeah,
Love her.
I'm definitely happy to see, and I don't want to pivot this too far off the song, but I think this lends to a great conversation because something that you and I always talk about. I'm a to the point of Biggie though, a huge fan of Little Kim, which is not hard to tell, and I think about the time in which Little Kim came up under Biggie, how you had to, as a female hip hop artist, had to constantly be associated with a man who was also a rapper and also be in constant competition with other female rappers. Just the ways in which we weren't able to see her and Foxy effectively collaborate. And they kind of had this like underlying competitiveness without really a motivation for that. So just this generation that we're in of women, female hip hop artists embracing each other and really supporting each other, uplifting each other's music. Like, I love it. Even if I can't fully relate to the music, I'm just like, yes, I want to see that.
Absolutely.
It feels really good. So
absolutely. And the one thing I did love about that era with Little Kim and Biggie is, she had to be hard, but she also was still sexy.
Yes.
And she knew how to be sensual and sexy and hard all at the same time.
Of course.
Or shall I say all at the same damn time.
And it was
she held
unique.
her own.
Yeah.
To be a little person, she held her own amongst a bunch of guys.
Right.
And to this day, she's still a legend.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the Little Kim stan account for sure. So I definitely have so much respect for her impact. And you see it now. Like, to me, she has brought such an innovative way of delivering rap music as a woman. I think that her influence is seen probably more than any other female hip hop artist.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. So I definitely am grateful to Biggie for, pushing her out and really supporting her vision, even if it wasn't really what he thought it would be. Ultimately, it created a legend. So I'm grateful for that.
But you know what I'm also happy for with Lil Kim is, he pushed her, but she took the ball and ran.
Absolutely.
She held it down for her own self. She made herself who she is. Or who we all know and love. Mm-hmm. And that alone makes me feel so good about Kim. Because how many times you see, and I'm not going to name them, you see a female entertainer who is man-made, and the moment the man no longer deals with her, you never see her again.
Absolutely. A ton of times. Oh, God. No, I think that's true. And I think that's why the era that we're in, where like a Megan Thee Stallion is fighting for herself. The City Girls, even though they're associated with QC, they are very much their own entity.
Oh, absolutely.
A Cardi B.
Absolutely.
They're the next generation. There's Glorilla, there's Flo Milli, who I love. There's so many.
And you naming people I don't know.
No, but I'm speaking to a point of like, and they're younger, like they're like in their late teens, early 20s. So you're seeing like a consistent thread of women just feeling empowered in their individuality in this industry, which is so unique and so outside of the origin of hip hop. So that's refreshing, especially as a woman in a relatively young genre of music. It's a nice era to be in and to have pivoted in. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, and I just hope I hope they remember that how to finesse in their music and don't lose who they are.
Yeah.
Continue being themselves, but also put a little femininity to the music, but also make it memorable and timeless. Like I said, like a You're All I Need to Get By.
Like Method Man and Mary, yeah.
Yes, like Big Poppa, like one of those songs. So 30 years from now, when you hear it, you're like, damn,
And even and even relating it specifically to women, like thinking about hardcore. Like I can play Lil Kim's first album like right now and it feels so new. Like it doesn't, you would never imagine this was 20 plus years old.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Which sounds crazy.
Yeah, I know I probably was a bad parent letting you listen to that. But I mean, you're gonna hear it anyway.
It's fine.
But it's still timeless.
Yeah.
Because even like when we played it at my party, everybody jumped up and started dancing immediately. You know, Little Kim's music is going to be around forever.
An icon for sure.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about that as well. So to the point of nostalgia, and again, the basis of this podcast episode, and feeling music, what is something that you would love to, and we talked about this a little bit with women artists specifically, just bringing back femininity and really being able to make sure that their music is timeless. But in addition to that, what is something that you would love to see come back in this era of music from its golden era? And when I say golden era, to me, that's for me, that's the 90s, because that's like the earliest basis of my music.
Music that makes sense.
And what do you mean by that?
When I say makes sense, that everyone can identify with, like you said, Glorilla is not for me.
Right.
It's barely for you.
Barely.
However, how many times my father, your grandfather, came and picked you up from elementary school listening to Biggie?
Right.
You know what I mean?
A ton of time.
So that's the kind of legacy I want to see go on with this generation. Like, you know, make it make sense, make it timeless. You know, not just for the moment, not for right now, you know, what's going on right now in society, but make it timeless and make it matter.
Well, thank you for sharing your insight. I'm super excited to have you on the episode. And thank you for Biggie. Thank you for the introduction to Biggie and setting me up to be a hip hop head forever and music head forever.
You are more than welcome if you can introduce me to Method Man.
And that's episode 1. Thanks for listening.